About a couple hours ago, I was watching a video by Professor Tim Wilson, right? And I'm very you know he's on this uh let's just defend the Western world needs to defend Ukraine at all costs, right? While like that is noble, and while I think that that's a cause that should be um that I too see as possibly honorable, but we got to start asking questions. How long are you gonna? How long this gonna last? So over the weekend, something frightened me over the weekend, and it happened in Brazil in a rainforest. And what happened in the rainforest? And I'm going to show you this real quick. And this what happened inside that rainforest, right?
The fastest
I'm just gonna let this I'm gonna let this play out real quick.
way to get rid of neurons.
And because what happened for frightens me, and it's this right here. And I can't stand these ads. These ads are getting in the way. Right? I can't stand these ads.
Toothbrushing battles.
Joe Biden has emerged after the Democrats' humiliating defeat to carry out the final weeks of his presidency. But it seems he's not leaving the White House quietly. Joe Biden made his biggest announcement in a long time yesterday, and it has a lot of people very scared. The president has given the all clear for Ukraine to use US-supplied missiles in their war against Russia, which Sky News contributor Joe Syracuse says is absolutely reckless and a mistake.
Just while I've got you, Joe.
Right. So we're gonna talk about that, right? And and the thing is, what's so frightening about it is that just the next day, Russia, the Russian Duma has authorized to authorize the president of Russia, its commander in chief, to use nuclear weapons uh, for any invasion, and as a response for American and other Western powers giving um, the Ukrainians long range ballistic missiles. And I'm going to say this is primarily the fault of Joe Biden. If Joe Biden had not said um, he's going to give them long range weapons, and let me say this too, let me say this too right now. About 2 years ago, 3 years ago at least, Joe Biden said he will not give the Ukrainians long range weapons because the long range weapons would cause a third war war. And now all of a sudden he's in a jungle in South America signing papers to give the Ukrainian government long range weapons. And now though the Russians decided, well, we're going to amend our um law to require the Russian leader Vladimir Putin the authority to use nuclear weapons as see fit. Now, Ukraine has already invaded a portion of Russia. Um, so we got to start asking the question now. Um, I'm not even going to ask that question. That question is something. You know, um, this is most reckless, um, foolhardy decisions ever made in history. Um, you're giving Vladimir Putin what he wanted. And let me say this too. There's a content creator called I am Berkeley. I hope I pronounced her name right. Her name is in the description box. Um, Shout out to her because I don't I see how the liberals are trying to gaslight Ukraine when this war between Ukraine and Russia could have been resolved um before during the first 3 months of the conflict, because Joe Biden himself and the British government told the told Vladimir Putin not to negotiate. No, told I'm sorry, not Putin, but told the Ukrainian leadership not to negotiate with Putin because that was really ready to go to the negotiating table. And see, and this is another issue I have, right? When it comes to um Joe Biden. Joe Biden worldview, and this is the reason why I said needs to be that's why I said there needs to be a new generation of there needs to be a new generation of leadership, because Joe Biden's mindset, and like what the lady who I put in whose video I put up in the description box, they're trying to refight the Cold War. Joe Biden's attitude, the current president of the United States, his attitude, and yes, along with Donald Trump, but Donald Trump we will talk about later. I'll talk about that next time. But when it comes to somebody like Joe Biden, right, who is a friend of the military industrial complex, um, he viewed the world as if this is still the 1980s, as if this is still the Cold War. The Soviet Union still exists in his mind, and he needs to understand that, and people around him needs to understand that that world does not exist anymore. We don't live in a bipolar world of the Cold War. We live in a multi polar world where there are conflicting and dare I say um, complicated polarities. So yes, Russia is wrong for invading the Ukraine, but let's not sit there and forget that we treated the Russians as redheaded stepchildren when it comes to our geopolitical affairs since the 1990s, since the days of Yeltsin. Let's not forget though that American and British and Australian politics, um, since the Cold War has ended, we try to put pressure on, we try to wag our finger at Russia when it um, comes to their activities concerning the former Baltic states, namely Bosnia, Yugoslavia, and what's the Serbia. We shut them out of that, even though the Serbs are the same ethnic group as the Russians. We shut them out of that. We wouldn't allow them to take part in their own people's um geopolitics. And now, you know, we dumb our nose, and now this is the result. Now America is weak. Great Britain is weak. In what goes on in was going on in Africa, in the Middle East, and in certain parts of Asia. So this is the right time for Russia to do what it wants to do concerning um, um, Ukraine, and by what happened in 2014 by the taking of Crimea. So I wish that people like Professor Tim Wilson, um, and I have respect for Professor Tim Wilson. I think though that there needs to be a negotiated peace. Ukraine is not going to win this war. It's not going to win this war outright. Okay. Um, the only way for Ukraine to win is at least have a negotiated peace, and much of its population survive for the next 2-3 generations. It's going to take another 2-3 generations for the Ukrainian population to refurbish. Um, and sending long range weapons to be used against the interior of Russia is going to make the problem a lot worse, not better, and it's going to take the lives of millions, if not billions, over the issue of Crimea and the two other Oblast regions in eastern part of Ukraine. So yeah, Joe Biden is making this worse by saying he wants to send these weapons into Ukraine to be used on Russia, and the Russians just signed a law saying that they will lower the threshold of the use of nuclear weapons. So therefore, Vladimir Putin can at any time can at any time use nukes, and Vladimir Putin is justified since the Ukrainian army is inside of Russia, and that North Korean troops is in the Ukrainian border. So yeah, so he has every justification to use nukes at this point. And this is a foolhardy statement by a president who been in office far too long, who think this is the 1970s and 1980s Europe. America, the world has changed since 1989. So anyway, uh, hopefully there's cooler heads will prevail. Hopefully there is a somebody who has some common sense, and people who have children in the armed forces, or somebody who has served in the armed forces, somewhere in Biden's ear or in Trump's ear, should Trump within the next 90 days that Trump comes in office, um hope there's somebody in his ear too to step back from the abyss. So that's all I'm going to say on it. Ukraine, okay, he said why is there is a whole lot of reasons. Um there's an oil pipeline from the Middle East go across the Black Sea. You know, have you ever watched that movie with James Bond? called what's that? It Pierce Brosnan James Bond. The World Is Not Enough, right? If you watch that movie, A World Is Not Enough. Now the movie talks about a oil pipeline from Afghanistan and Iraq goes through Turkey into the Black Sea. Well, that reference of that movie is true. There are many oil pipelines running through the Black Sea, and Ukraine is one of those pipelines that run through the Pipe Sea, and Russia owns the pipeline. They own most of the pipelines running from the Caspian Sea to the Red Sea and into Europe. And some of our money is investing in that. You know, V-Dub said the foreign minister basically stated Russia won't use nukes, but there will be a response. And I bet you there will be a harsh response. Also, Russia won't go that far because Trump is involved, and Putin knows he will get what he wants soon. Yeah, yeah. So I guess though. But the thing is though, right? The thing is, um, I forgot what was about to say. I was about to say something and my mind just slipped, y'all. I apologize for that. Hold on. I'm gonna give myself a new headset after today. Right, right. Joe Neckbone said, yeah, no, I think when these are happening is that Ukraine needs to be a neutral nation. Uh, that shouldn't join NATO or should not join the European Union, and it should not join the Eastern Alliance, what's called the CESTO, which is the Russian, um, uh, the Eastern world version of NATO, and it shouldn't even join the Russian monetary monetary mark either. It should be neutral. And plus, Ukraine is important because it's the breadbasket of Europe, and also in top of that, it's a breadbasket of Africa too, because Africa needs that wheat from Ukraine. So that's why it's important. And yeah, 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 and that's my problem with Joe Biden. Joe Biden thinks this is the 1980s. You know, Joe Biden's foreign policy is 1980s, and that's why I'm saying you got to get rid of these old ass politicians. You know, you've been in office before. Listen, I was born in the early 1980s, right? I was born in the early 1980s. You mean you've been in office since 1969, 1972? No, it's time for you to go. Joe Biden has been senator ever since he was 29. He was elected at the age of 29. No, you got to go. So does Maxine Waters and them. You got to go. You in the way. You know, having this Cold War mindset does not um this Cold War mindset is not the way to go. Let me help you out about the tax dollars, right? That money is not going to Ukraine. I'm gonna tell you where that money's going to. If you actually read that money is really going to companies like Caterpillar, companies like Boeing, companies like Honeywell, and those three companies will make weapons, and then they send it to Ukraine. They're not getting the money they're not getting the hard cold cash right there. They're getting the products to be sent over there. You know, let me just say it's something similar to the Lend-Lease plan during the Second World War. I put it like that. It's something similar to the Lend-Lease Act thing. But the problem is the Europeans and the Canadians and the Americans, their foreign policy is still stuck on this Cold War mentality. So, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Honeywell makes um aircraft engines along with Royce and yeah, they actually make the material for the missiles, the engines of the missiles, engines for the airplanes and stuff. But the problem is nobody else going to get nobody else outside of those defense defense firms, right? The contractors, they're not getting. We are not getting anything out of it. Food prices going up. My phone bill's going up. My gas bill's going up. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's sad that the defense firms are making money out of this, but the average citizen is not. So I think the best thing right now is for right now is having a negotiated peace. Um, you know, allow Russia to have, actually, I don't know if I should say this or not. You know what? I'm not gonna say what my plans are because I already sent it out. Because I got heavily involved in the peace movement over the summer. Um, and I had put out my little um proposals out. But I would like to see Russia have Crimea, trade Crimea for for the rest of for peace. Um, therefore, so they won't you know so would maintain a better so that the rest of the billions of people of the earth would survive. Because at some point you have to allow it to you know so yeah there has to be a trade deal. Okay, yeah, okay, Joe said at the rate yeah, Russia is in or putting their troops into a meat grinder, right? But don't act like but don't okay, let me say it like this though, Joe, right? They're losing troops right and left. But at the same time, let's not this is not Vietnam or Iraq where Ukraine is on the other side of the globe and Russia is, you know, and they can just pull out. No, the threat is right there. So, I mean, since they invaded Russia, since they are in Russia's soil, um, you might they're going to be justified into using the big weapons and the more man you're gonna lose troops and that enemies that is at your border. Well, they're gonna be justified. There's gonna be calls to say, well, you're gonna use those weapons or not. And that is very frightening to me. I mean, What if Putin is no longer in office in the next three months, or tomorrow, and then some other leader come up in there and just say, okay, let me just, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm just going to drop the big one. He might not even want to drop it on Ukraine itself. He might just drop it on the on the border, the Russian border, to seal there, to seal this, create like a radioactive barrier. It's still gonna be catastrophic. So anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. Yeah, I'm going to have to, after this live stream, I'm going to do a video, because I'm gonna take BIGJXXX to school. I'm gonna educate the master teacher, and yeah, I'm going to drag him for filth after this. It's gonna be a two-part video for BIGJXXX. But anyway, this is my response to Professor Tim Wilson, and I am Berkeley. I agree with I am Berkeley, about how the liberals all of a sudden want to be on the side of Ukraine, when they could at least use their analysis to use their politics, or use their dovish rhetoric for negotiated peace.